Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Gilda Hilaire, and I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager at Salesforce. Today, we will be discussing all things related to Marketing Cloud Connect, featuring Zuzana, Marcus, and moderated by Jenna. And just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in the question box in your GoToWebinar control panel. We will try to address these during the presentation and at the end. We will also send the recording to the webinar and all the links mentioned during the presentation tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that email, which is coming from me. Now, without further ado, we will get started. I will turn the time over to Zuzana.
Thank you, Gilda. So welcome, everyone. We're very excited to be here today to discuss Marketing Cloud Connect with you. So what is Marketing Cloud Connect? It's a managed package for Sales and Service Cloud that provides integration with Marketing Cloud through data management, segmentation, and campaign management tools. This package also enables synchronizing of the data and data relationships from Salesforce objects, allowing the data to be imported into synchronized data extensions. And most importantly, it allows you to use Journey Builder with its full potential and using all the Sales Cloud data that you have. So here we have listed some of the Marketing Cloud Connect resources, and I think right now we will go straight to the questions. So if you have any questions regarding Marketing Cloud Connect, please type them into the questions box.
Okay, so now that you've given us a basic overview of what Marketing Cloud Connect is, and like Zuzana said, please ask any questions that you would like answered on our webinar today, asked in the question box, and we'll try our best to get those answered live on this episode of Lookup Answers for you. So let's start off with some best practices. Let's see here. What are some basic Marketing Cloud and SFDC data synchronization best practices?
Okay, I'll just take over that question. It's very important that you do your work and just check what you really need. So you should just synchronize the data you need for personalization and segmentation, because you don't need all the data you have in Sales Cloud, because there's no point in doing that. And what's really important is that you stick to using the contact ID, lead ID, or in the cases where you sending communication to users, the user ID as your subscriber key, because only if you do that, you can utilize the full potential of Marketing Cloud Connect, because every automated process, like for example the syncing of the tracking data, is based on these IDs. So that's very important. And also, if you're utilizing Salesforce data events, so when you're triggering journeys based on data changes in Sales and Service Cloud, then also the contact or lead ID is used as a default subscriber key. So if you wouldn't use this ID for audiences you build yourself, then you would have duplicate entries in all contacts. So that means that they count towards the contact count twice, and that's a thing that's important for your license, because you would have to pay for the same person twice.
Exactly. Duplication is always an issue, right?
Yeah, exactly. And another thing is, if you don't need all your contacts within Marketing Cloud, so for example, if there are some contacts that you can't use for your marketing because you don't have an opt-in from them, or you don't even have an email address, then you should apply a sync restriction. That's a setting within the synchronized data extensions within Contact Builder, so you just sync over the contacts that you really need.
Okay, and I think that you just answered a question that came in, one of the first ones that came in, which was how can synchronization of contracts be limited at setup? So you can do that with some filters, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can do that based on a checkbox field within Sales and Service Cloud, which is the most common version for that. But you can also do a restriction based on the date, but I wouldn't suggest using that. So the most common thing would be to have a logic within Sales and Service Cloud that sets this checkbox, maybe based on a couple of fields like an opt-in and the presence of an email address. And
That makes sense.
yeah, make sure to use a real checkbox and not a formula field checkbox for that, because you aren't able to select that.
That makes sense too. And on that note, another question that came in that says we currently cannot filter data coming from SDFC to SFMC as for the connection is only for admin users. They're asking if they can actually restrict the data coming into the Marketing Cloud through the user scope. Is that possible through the connector? Since I know I'm kind of backtracking there and going to a setup question, configuration question.
For the synchronized data extensions, I don't think that's possible, but in regards to sends to reports, for example, then you can select the scope by user setting, so only the records accessible in Sales and Service Cloud are eligible for the audience.
That makes sense. All right. Then let's go back over to our main ones then, our main questions that came in earlier. Let's see here. Is a separate license needed for distributed marketing? If you're using distributed marketing from SFDC rather than sending from Marketing Cloud Connect?
Yeah, there's a separate license for that, but you don't need a Marketing Cloud license for every user that's using distributed marketing, but only for the system users.
That makes sense too, yeah. All right, so, and what's best practice to make sure formula fields refresh in the target synchronized DEs?
There's not really a best practice to make sure they are refreshed, because there is no way to control that they are refreshed. So the only way to do that is changing the record itself. So best practice would be to only use formula fields if they don't need to be 100% up to date, or only use formulas that that use data from the record itself. So then it will automatically be updated.
Makes sense too. And then on that, I should have asked you this first, so sorry for going out of order here, but is it possible to sync external objects from Salesforce?
As far as I know, that's not selectable by default, but there could be maybe a hidden feature, like there are so many in Marketing Cloud. I already reached out to some product managers and success architects to get that information, but by default, without anything else, there's no possibility.
Makes sense. All right, and then another, back to the audience questions. This is a good one for configuration and implementation. If you're starting a new Salesforce Marketing Cloud instance and you know Salesforce CRM will be implemented in 2 to 4 months down the road, should you wait and set up Marketing Cloud first, or set them up both up at the same time? This is for future subscriber key issues and synchronization. So would you wait, or would you go ahead and try to configure both at the same time?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the problem here is that you cannot configure both at the same. So of course, if you can do this earlier, then I would advise to configure both at the same time. But if the business requirement is to start sending emails ASAP, then obviously you would have to start using Marketing Cloud first, and only later connect it to Sales or Service Cloud and perform the subscriber key migration. So if you have a choice and you are able to either wait or speed it up so that you are able to implement both at the same time, then this definitely would be easier. But of course, that's not always possible.
Very true.
I totally agree.
And on that note, yeah, it's rarely the case that you get to set them up at the same time. So it's, if you know it's coming, think about it. But on that note, what about if you already have them both set up? What are the must knows or best practices for connecting the Marketing Cloud to the CRM or to Core whenever you already have data in both places?
In fact, the best practices are the same as usual. So as I mentioned at the beginning, sync only what is needed, restrict your records, use the contact lead or user ID as a subscriber key. And there's something special if you already have data in Marketing Cloud. That's a bit different to having data in your CRM, which is most of the time the case. If you have data in Marketing Cloud, you need to verify if you have contacts that are also in the CRM already. So you need to map them out so you don't have any duplicate subscribers then, and you have to consider a migration to have the CRM as the single source of truth. There is something called like a subscriber key migration that's done together with Salesforce, because that lets you keep the tracking data of the subscribers that you already had in Marketing Cloud. But if that's not important for you, then you could also do the migration on your own to migrate to the CRM and then clean up in Marketing Cloud using the contact deletion. But you should plan this carefully before you do this, because you would lose all your tracking data. So I'd recommend doing the subscriber key migration in that case.
That makes sense. Thank you, Marcus. What are the prerequisites for enabling Marketing Cloud Connect? Just high level.
High level. So when we talk about strictly technical prerequisites, you definitely need to have the administrator permissions in both clouds, because you will have to install the managed package in Sales Cloud. You will have to create the integration users and follow the whole configuration and setup. So this is the technical prerequisite. The other thing to keep in mind is to plan very carefully which business units should be synchronized with which Salesforce org, who should be benefiting from this connection, so who's going to use it and for which purpose, and definitely think through what kind of data you would like to synchronize, and also for what purposes, because like Marcus said in the beginning, there's a cost behind it. So if you synchronize too much data and you don't end up using it, you will just pay for the storage without really having any return from this investment. So plan it very carefully.
Think about your pocketbook or your wallets. Good advice. All right, another. This is an interesting one. Back to the syncing of formula fields. It seems someone says when syncing formula fields through the connector, formula fields are not getting updated unless there's an event that triggers a refresh on the record. How do we work around that? What if they don't want to refresh on the record, but they want to be able to update a formula field? Is there a way to automate that?
As far as I know, you have to do an update on the record, because otherwise the connector doesn't know that there is something that changed, because it's just something that's shown in the interface, but it's not really a data change. So you would have to include something in the formula that that is on that record to be recognized as a data change.
In the data extensions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Or as a different solution, don't use formula fields. So, so I think this is something that is a benefit of implementing both clouds together at the same time. So if you are talking to the team that implements the Salesforce org, you can make sure that the setup that they create will work perfectly with Marketing Cloud, because formula fields are one of the examples of things that don't always work perfectly. Another thing is the setup of the objects use, and then, for instance, the segmentation. So if you have very complicated setup and you will use multiple objects for segmentation, you will end up having to use the joint reports in Salesforce, which do not work with Marketing Cloud Connect. So yeah, if it's possible, then plan everything ahead of time and think through how you're going to set up your data model and everything else in Sales Cloud.
So you're saying basically, if they do have to use formulas in the Sales Cloud, and they need those formulas to come over into the Marketing Cloud in real time, then they should probably perform those formulas in the Marketing Cloud also, if they have the access to the data, maybe.
Well,
if they need them for like display or something, you know.
Yeah. So yes, of course. So for that, you can synchronize the objects that pick those that the formula fields use, and use SQL in Marketing Cloud, or basically try to avoid using formula fields in the first place, and instead try to use a different field.
Flat data. Yep.
If it's just for display purposes within an email or a cloud page, you can just fetch them using mscript.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, you can't use it then directly from the data extension. So if that's part of an email, that would be not as good for the performance. So if possible, don't do it, but that's a possible workaround. As well as using it in Salesforce data events, because then it's the the state at the time of the trigger. So that would also work.
There you go. So you got quite a few workaround options there, instead of using the formula fields. Cosmin, I hope we answered your question. All right, another one came in that's interesting, and this whole idea is interesting to me because I live in the Marketing Cloud, so I'm interested. I'm personally interested in this one. After connecting Salesforce with Salesforce Marketing Cloud using Marketing Cloud Connect, we want to send emails from Sales Cloud. Is there a step that we need to follow? Currently, if I send emails from Sales Cloud, it fails every time. So why would you want to, would you want to send from Sales Cloud if you've implemented the connector? Would you guys recommend that?
Oh yes, for me personally, the interface is much better in Marketing Cloud. So I can perform like a preview and verify everything before I hit send. So that's why I prefer to send emails out from Marketing Cloud. But of course, it's possible to send them from Sales Cloud as well. And one thing that comes to my mind why it might be failing is that maybe your user does not have the required permissions, or it's not mapped to your Marketing Cloud user. So that's something that comes to my mind why those sends could be failing. Marcus, do you have any?
Yeah, I also think that it's an issue with the user that's performing the send not being integrated with a Marketing Cloud account, because if you want to send emails out from Sales Cloud, you also need a Marketing Cloud user that's connected to the Sales Cloud user. If you don't want to have that setup, distributed marketing might be something, because then you just need a system user that's connected, but that's a different use case because it's just set up in a different way because it uses journeys then. But in that case, I guess you're right, Susanna. It's 80% an issue with the users or the permission sets of the user. That's also possible.
That makes total sense. Permissioning can get you. Grab your admin, get them to help you sort that out. All right, so what is counted as a contact? I know contacts IDs are counted as a contact in all contacts. Does account ID count as a contact? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, as far as I know, if you sync contacts, leads, users, and accounts, that's counted towards the contact count, which brings us back to the best practices where you should limit the records and only sync the records you really need for your marketing.
Got you. So if you don't need to use the account object in the Marketing Cloud, you don't sync it, in other words.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Right. Think through the config. Okay, so can we have a what links a user is clicked using the connector? I'm not okay.
Sorry, can you?
Yeah, I was going to say that one read a little bit weird. Can we have what links a user is clicked using the connector? And that's from our list of previous questions. So I'm not sure exactly what the question is there.
Yeah. So I think the way I understand this question is they are asking about seeing what links were clicked in an email. So I'll try to answer this one, and I will show it in the interface. So when you install the Marketing Cloud Connect managed package, it comes with I think about 20 predefined objects. And one of the objects that get added to your Salesforce instance is the individual email results. So usually we add them to the lead and contact page layouts. So when I scroll down, I can see the individual email results here. And you can see what emails have been sent to this particular contact. Now, if we open up an individual email result, maybe I'll make this a bit bigger. So you will see all the details, when this email was sent, what was the email name, from address, subject line, to which contact, and then some tracking information, so whether it bounced, whether it was opened and clicked, and you will see this little preview of the email as well. And here at the bottom, you have individual link level details. So this one doesn't have any clicks, but I'll open up a different one. So this one here shows you which links in the email exactly were clicked and at what time. So this link is actually a link to a cloud page, but if it were a different link, like an external link, you would also be able to see it here. So this is one of the ways how you can check which of your subscribers got which email and which links inside of that email were clicked. You can also create a report based on those two objects. So I'll quickly show you how to do it. So I'll create a new report and I will just put here individual email results. Sorry. So you can choose one of those report types. So I would go for individual link level details with individual email results. And that way you can create a report, for example, for the whole campaign that you sent out, or for a particular subscriber, depending on the use case.
Very cool. Thank you for that. Thank you for understanding that question. All right. This is an interesting question. What kind of users typically set up and manage Marketing Cloud Connect? IT or marketing power users, or a combo? And that's a great question. Who wants to that one?
For setup, I guess that's an admin topic, because you need admin rights on Marketing Cloud and on Sales Cloud, and you need to manage the users. So I'd say that's definitely admin or agency type of thing.
Yeah.
And agreed. And yeah, it depends on how your company is stacked as to whether IT or marketing has that admin role in it, under it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just as a remark, so the installation is actually very well. The installation process is very well documented. So if you don't have a Marketing Cloud admin, or if you're a marketing power user, then if you follow those steps one by one, then you will also be able to install it. The problem might come up when there's something wrong and you will have to troubleshoot it. In that case, it might be a bit hard if you're not an admin or if you don't have that kind of knowledge. But the installation itself is very well documented, and any experienced marketing user should also be able to perform the installation.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And you're right, it is very well documented, and it's pretty easy to follow. Okay, so on that note, with troubleshooting and issues, someone writes that they have to wait at least 72 hours for the data views to be updated for email sends. How can you update this info on Service Cloud later on?
Okay, so I'll take this one because it's very closely related to what I just showed in Salesforce. So first of all, you don't need to wait 72 hours for the data views to be updated. They get updated as soon as the tracking informations are available. So you definitely don't have to wait 72 hours to see any tracking information. And now for updating information in Sales or Service Cloud. So let me go to the interface again. This is the Marketing Cloud tab in Salesforce, and you have the Marketing Cloud connector settings here. If you scroll down to the bottom, you will see the tracking section. And the answer to the question asked here is this parameter, number of days tracked. Right now, in the instance that I'm showing, it's set to 90, which means that anything that happens with the tracking during those 90 days will be, the information will be sent back from Marketing Cloud to Sales Cloud. So even if the email is sent and I don't open it straight away, let's say I open it a month later, this open will be registered in Marketing Cloud and it will be sent back to Sales Cloud if it's within the 90 days. Of course, you can adjust it. You can change it. I think you can choose anything between 1 day and 1 year. So you can track the email results for as long as you really need to. So you don't have to worry about updating it yourself. Marketing Cloud Connector will do that for you.
Which is perfect. That's what the brilliance behind the connector is. Here's an interesting one too. Can you synchronize the email opt-in field in Sales Cloud with the Salesforce Marketing Cloud all subscriber status through the Marketing Cloud Connect? If you wanted to see subscription statuses in Sales Cloud, you can unsubscribe through a Marketing Cloud email, have it synced automatically with the email opt-in, opt-out field in Sales Cloud. So I think they're asking if they can update the subscriber status in Core by using all subs in the Marketing Cloud.
I'll take that one if that's all right. There's the default field has opted out of email, it's called, and if you unsubscribe in Marketing Cloud, that field is automatically set by the connector. But if you want to unsubscribe a specific subscriber from within Sales and Service Cloud, then you need to use a specific link that can be added to the page layout, which takes care of the logic of the connector that also writes that to the all subscribers list. So yeah, there's the synchronization, but if you manually unsubscribe a contact within Sales and Service Cloud, then you just need to use that link instead of setting the checkbox itself. I hope that covers everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, let's see here. Let's jump back over. Let's talk about, you guys touched on reporting in the Marketing Cloud, so let's kind of keep going with that. Marcus, I think you have some information about reporting in Marketing Cloud Connect.
Yeah, exactly. As Susanna already mentioned, there's the specific objects that you can set up with the screen we just see. You can decide what level of tracking detail is written back to Sales Cloud. So you can either just sync the aggregate level, so just send tracking of one send. So you just have the open rate for the overall audience, for example, or you can also sync the individual tracking with the send events and also the individual links that have been clicked. And based on that objects, you can do the standard reports. Like Susanna already showed, you can create your own, but there are also 3 folders that are automatically created by the setup of the managed package. So you have some subscriber reports, Marketing Cloud admin reports, and also tracking reports that are mainly based on the individual email results and the link detail objects. So within those folders, you'll find a lot of information that you can already use for your reporting purposes, but you can also just adjust them or create reports of your own that fit your needs. And for the default, you also have an overview on the aggregate level details. So on the send, you also have an overview of the aggregated metrics that can be used.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Marcus. All right, so we have a lot of questions talking about multi-org setups that are coming in. And I know we had one someplace on our list here that came in earlier. Can one of you speak to how to go around configuring a multi-org setup in the Marketing Cloud, and if they need to assign more than one API user?
Yeah, maybe Susanna, you can switch to
I was going
because...
to say, we have prepared a slide for multi-org because this is one of the most frequent questions. Yeah,
exactly. It's important to understand what's actually possible and what account you need to do so. That's just an Enterprise 2.0 account configuration. So you can just do it if you have an Enterprise 2.0 Marketing Cloud account. And what's really important is you can't just test this configuration and see if it works out for you, because you cannot turn it back off. So there's really no rollback. If you decided to use multi-org, you have to use it. So there's 2 scenarios that you can set up with that. You can connect multiple business units within your account to multiple Salesforce orgs, or you can connect multiple BUs to a single org. So, for example, if you have one specific Sales Cloud org per region, you can set up your business units by region and connect them to the specific instances of the Sales Cloud org, or you can go on a more granular level within Marketing Cloud to have country-based business units and connect all these countries to the Sales Cloud org that's for a specific region. But you can also connect every business unit to the same organization, but have one business unit that connects to a staging system in Sales Cloud, for example, where you have your updates earlier on, and you don't have to wait for a deployment on the production side. But what's not supported is to connect one business unit to multiple Salesforce orgs. So you need to make sure that you are not more granular with Salesforce orgs than you are on the business unit level in Marketing Cloud. So that's the most important consideration. And if you do connect multiple orgs, it's important to stick to one dedicated API user per Salesforce org. But if you connect to a different org, you use a different API user. Another thing to mention is one enterprise account shares a single all subscribers list. So all the subscribers of the different Salesforce orgs and business units go together in the parent account. So they are basically visible for every business unit if you don't restrict access to all subscribers, for example, using a subscriber filter that's set up in the parent. And yeah, you should carefully plan the setup because, as already mentioned, you can't roll back to a single org configuration later on. And what's also a thing, you should use a custom profile center then to manage the permissions and the profile settings, because the default one isn't supported in a multi-org configuration. So that's the basics. There's also some documentation by Salesforce in regards to this, and we'll also send this slide with some best practices after the webinar.
And that your diagram, I think, right there is extremely helpful. So folks, you know, that diagram pretty much explains how orgs can be set up. There was another question that came in that asked, can we connect more than one sales service cloud to a marketing cloud? So I guess that's to a single business unit, and doesn't look like you can. So thank you for answering.
No, exactly. Just to give Salesforce credits for the diagram, I stole it from the documentation, so not my own.
There you go. Documentation wins in that regard. All right, so once you've synchronized and set everything up, how can you change an integration user without losing any of the synchronized data sources or data relationships?
Mm-hmm. So the short answer is you cannot really do that. So after you disconnect the integration user, the user's credentials are removed, and all the mappings are lost, and all the synchronization is also removed. So there is really no way to change the integration user without losing all the synchronized data and the user mappings. So yeah, unfortunately, you cannot do that.
Yep. Thank you, Zuzana. That makes sense. Let's see here. Got a lot of questions coming in. You guys have been awesome with those. Keep them coming. Thank you. This is an interesting one, and you guys have touched on it, and I'm jumping around a little bit, so I do apologize for that. But how do you keep unsubscribes? And you guys, like I said, have touched on this, but how do you keep unsubscribes synced between the clouds with RMM complaints and things like that?
If you're using reply mail management and you activate the feature that unsubscribes should be automatically processed, I'm 96% sure that that's synced back to Sales Cloud as well, because even if there is a list unsubscribe that's initiated by the email client, for example, if you use Google Mail and an email is from a mailing list, you have that button to unsubscribe just below the header information and also within the overview of your mails. And if you click that unsubscribe, I know for sure that this is counted through the connector, and you get the has opted out of email set in Sales Cloud. So I'm more than 96% sure that this also counts for RMM.
Yeah, I also confirm, because I've checked, and yes, if someone uses RMM to unsubscribe, this will be logged correctly by Marketing Cloud using the log unsub event, and this information, as any other correct unsubscribe information, will flow back to Sales or Service Cloud. So yes, this will work.
Excellent, thank you for that. So as long as RMM is configured, it should be able to communicate back to the Sales or Service Cloud. Very good. Configured properly. We have a lot of questions coming in around journeys, so I'm going to start someplace. Let's see here. This is an interesting. I think I read somewhere that it's a good practice to create a journey object in Salesforce.com to use as journey entry sources and attribute groups for contact data. Can you talk through the use cases, pros and cons, or use cases in this?
I'm not entirely sure if I got that right with the specific object that's created, but
yeah, they had to create a journey object in Salesforce.com to use as an entry source in your journeys in an attribute group for contact data.
So you can react to Sales and Service Cloud changes. So you can also do that with a specific object for a journey. I would say you can just use the regular data to start a journey then. So you don't need a specific object for that, because most of the time you will have some data change if you want to trigger something. So that's nothing you need to do with a separate object. But yeah, that depends on the use case. But that's a perfect way to start a journey, because you don't have to wait at least 15 minutes for the synchronized data extensions to update. But you have to keep in mind that that's not suitable for batch updates, because if you update a lot of records at once, then there are the Apex governor limits of Sales and Service Cloud that apply. So depending on the processes and flows that are based on that object, the limit of updates you can process and the limit of contacts you can inject to a journey is a bit lower. But for immediate actions that are triggered by your subscribers and written to Sales and Service Cloud, that's a perfect use case. And another more special Salesforce data event is the campaign entry event. So you can also set it up using a campaign if you really need a special setup, because you don't have the data change on your subscriber records itself. Then every time a campaign member is added to a campaign, the journey is triggered. So that's a great way to do near real-time journey triggers.
That makes sense. And backtracking just a bit here, nobody asked this, but I'm just going to ask it for the audience. Do you need Marketing Cloud Connect configured to be able to update events from journeys or use Salesforce object triggers to or Salesforce object changes to trigger journey events?
If you want it using the out-of-the-box functionality, then yes, you can build it yourselves using the API, but I think there's no point in doing that because it's pretty convenient if you set up the connect and you can use it out of the box.
Absolutely, and agreed. And it opens up all those AMP script Salesforce functions as well if you're using the connector.
Yeah, I was going to say not only journey, but we have all those amazing AMP script functions that allow you to interact with Sales or Service Cloud data directly from, let's say, a cloud page. So yeah, it's possible to do it through API, but that would be a big effort, which I don't think would pay off since the connector is there and it's free to install and use.
Exactly. And someone else is asking, is it possible to send data to Sales or Service Cloud about a contact being part of what all current journeys? Okay, so I guess they want to send back information about all the current journeys the contact is part of to the Sales or Service Cloud through an out-of-the-box solution. Is that possible?
Yes. So in the past it was not possible, but recently there's a new Lightning component developed by the Salesforce Labs, which basically allows you to see that information in the Sales or Service Cloud interface. So I will quickly have a look. I'm not sure if I do have it installed in my instance, but it exactly does that. So you have to perform an installation in Sales Cloud. You will also have to create a managed package in Marketing Cloud to be able to connect. And yes, it's here. So this is what it looks like. You can place it anywhere on the layout. Currently, this particular contact is not part of any journeys, but if it were, then those journeys would be listed here. And you would also have the option to let's say, exit contact from one of those journeys or all of them directly here from the interface. So it's called Marketing Journeys, and I highly recommend downloading it if you want to have like a full overview of which contact or lead or even account or case, which journeys they are part of at the moment.
That's extremely useful, and we'll send in the notes. We'll get Susanna to add a the
link,
name of the the
Mhm.
link to that, so you can add it to your orgs. All right, here's another interesting one. Let's assume you build a journey entry event based on an updated sales on a wait, excuse me. Let's assume you build a journey entry event based on an update on Salesforce record. Should you expect immediate journey entry of the affected record, or does the journey need to wait until the data is being synchronized?
You don't need to wait until it's synchronized. It's immediate, so you can't expect it to be to have the email sent out in 2 or 3 seconds, but it's within a couple of seconds, and the data of the record is passed using API in the background. So you have all the available data in Marketing Cloud, so you can use it straight away, but you don't have access to the synchronized data in the synchronized data extensions. So if you use it in the journey, for example, for a decision split, you need to make sure to select journey data rather than contact data. But everything you select when creating the entry event, that data will be available.
sense. Thank you, Marcus. All right, so going back to getting out of journeys and going back to the contact model, kind of. Someone asked an interesting question here about, does a record coming out of a synced object count as a contact in the Marketing Cloud if it doesn't have any identifiable subscriber information like email or phone number? Will it still be counted as a contact? I'm assuming it will because it'll have a contact ID or object, or a lead ID, excuse me.
If it's just a record that's not sendable, I think it's not counted towards the contact count. So if you sync an opportunity, for example, that shouldn't be counted towards the limit just from syncing. But if you have any information on there that you use for a send at time of the first send, it will definitely be counted. But we can check that. But I'm pretty sure it will only count if it's a sendable object, so contact, lead, account, or user.
That makes sense.
I think so. Yeah, I think so too. That only sendable objects are counted, against the billing. So. Yeah.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, if they don't have any contact information in there, how can it be counted, really, right? Okay, so we have some questions around subscriber keys too, and that kind of speaks to the contact model as well. Someone was asking for some best practices about what they should choose as a subscriber key when bringing data in from Salesforce core into the Marketing Cloud. Do you guys have any recommendations?
Yes, and let me just quickly go to our best practices slide, because this is something that Marcus spoke about in the beginning. So yeah, so here are the do's and don'ts. So when you look at the don'ts, you will see that don't use anything except contact ID, lead ID, user ID as subscriber key. So basically that answers the question. You should only use those 3 identifiers as a subscriber key in Marketing Cloud when you work with the Salesforce data.
There we go. Thank you. And one last question I think I'm going to go to around, actually maybe 1 or 2 more questions, because we have a ton that we didn't get to in our question box here, guys. And we just to let everybody know, Zuzana and Marcus will have an opportunity to answer these questions, add them to the slides, and we will be sending these back out in a couple of days so that everybody can have a video recap of this presentation and the slides that we're showing today. But people are again asking about duplication and how to go around removing duplicates. And would you recommend them doing the data cleanse or data hygiene from within the Sales or Service Cloud, or removing duplicates once they are in the Marketing Cloud? And if you are removing them from the Marketing Cloud side, can they be resynced by accident?
You should always do the data hygiene and deduplication in your source of truth, which should be the CRM, because once it's synced to Marketing Cloud, if you then do the deduplication and the cleanup within Marketing Cloud, you have the problem that it will be synced back using synchronized data extensions if you have set it up for that object. And also for triggered journeys, there's the possibility that it triggers another journey because it's still there in the CRM. So that's something you should do upfront within the CRM or within the data sources of your CRM.
Perfect, thank you. Data hygiene is extremely important to keep down costs. and you know, removing duplicate messages from being sent to your subscribers in all channels in the Marketing Cloud. So it's very important to keep those in mind whenever you're thinking about it. And I'm going to close with one final statement. Whenever you're setting up your Marketing Cloud Connect, Zuzana and Marcus stressed this entire time to think about what you're doing and going with a strategy and know what data that you need to bring into the Marketing Cloud. Am I right, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Number one most important thing when setting up the connector, right? But don't be afraid to use the connector. It's a wonderful tool to have. And on that note, Zuzana, Marcus, thank you so much for joining us today on Lookup Answers. And Gilda, thank you for being a wonderful, wonderful host as always. We do appreciate it. And we hope to see everybody this Thursday on our Technical Marketers Meetup, which is going to be all about the one of the SDKs. And I am not looking at the right thing. So, Zuzana, you want to say what SDK?
Yeah, I think it's the content block SDK.
Yep, absolutely. Yes, you're right. It's the contact block SDK. So log on to learn all about that and get the technicalities, and registration for that is out already. So we hope to see you all then. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.